Pay close attention. What you're about to see is Bible prophecy being fulfilled.
Welcome to another edition of YPN News, bringing you news as it relates to Bible prophecy and, of course, foretold by Yeshua Hawkins. Jeff, we have a huge array of different things we're going to be covering today, from post-traumatic stress disorder, murders, murderous rampage, thefts, diseases, and just everything we've been talking about over the last several years, coming, seems like, to a peak in this time period. What do you have for us?
Well, first we have the drought. The drought in America's heartland continues despite the 3/4 of an inch of rain that recently fell in Waldo, Kansas. Now, nearly all of Kansas and Missouri are in a drought, along with 60% of the country. Local farmers are saying that the recent rain will only push back the timeline of losing their crops a little bit further. They went on to say if we don't get any more rain within the next 2 to 4 weeks, when the temperature starts to warm, the wheat will come out of dormancy and start dying if the ground remains parched.
It is day 245 days so far of the drought, and still farmers continue to hold out hope that the rains will continue and save both their crops and their livelihood. They're hoping for crops this year that will make up for the loss of last year's crops. Without the consistency of rain, the loss of crops will only add to the famines taking place throughout the earth.
Now, famine is not the only thing increasing in our time period. A mysterious new disease affecting mainly young women has doctors scrambling for answers and misdiagnosing their patients. Now, doctors in Philadelphia who first discovered this disease say it's like your brain is on fire. Symptoms are first noticed by personality changes.
Interesting. 1 minute they could be acting completely normal, then all of a sudden their lives went haywire, becoming dazed and having to be restrained in hospital beds, even acting possessed. Susan Caholan said, "1 minute I'd be sobbing, crying hysterically, and the next minute I'd be laughing. I had bizarre, abnormal movements," she said. "I would leave my arms out extended in front of me. I was a relatively normal person, and then the next minute I'm hallucinating and insisting that my father had kidnapped me."
Emily Gavigan, a sophomore at the University of Scranton, described her situation much the same. "I was very paranoid and manic," she said, "and there was something wrong. I thought that trucks were following me." Now, from there, it only got worse for Emily. She couldn't control her arm movements, started having seizures, and eventually needed a ventilator. Now, her parents described the ordeal as life and death for weeks. "We were losing her to something I couldn't control," her father said.
Doctors are classifying this disease that both Susanna and Emily have as an autoimmune disease called, now this is a mouthful here, anti-NMDA receptor encephalitis. They believe antibodies attack the brain, causing swelling. Dr. Joseph Downmow first discovered the disease at the University of Pennsylvania in 2007. And he said nobody knew about the condition. Frequent mistakes to think that the patient has a primary psychiatric disorder is what was normally diagnosed. Now, there are many patients that think that are, I believe that he said, are misdiagnosed.
Now, the rare brain inflammation strikes mainly young women, and no one knows why. Susanna and Emily were eventually both correctly diagnosed at Penn. Now, researchers here developed both a spinal fluid test to diagnose the disease and an immunotherapy to treat it. Now, at this point, there is no cure. Emily and Susanna could relapse, which would require another round of treatments. Now, not surprisingly, Penn just released a new study about the disease, finding that many of these patients also have ovarian tumors.
Oh, amazing. The diseases are increasing, and so are the crime rates. Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark Jr. is taking a unique stance to this problem by recording a public service announcement urging residents to get gun training and protect themselves until the police arrive. The public service announcement read, With officers laid off and furloughed, simply calling 911 and waiting is no longer your best option. You can beg for mercy from a violent criminal, hide under the bed, or you can fight back. But are you prepared?
He continued, consider taking a certified safety course in handling a firearm so you can handle the situation until we get there. You have a duty to protect yourself and your family. We're partners now. Can I count on you? He concluded. Now, Sheriff Clark believes that with the rise in burglaries and street robberies in the Milwaukee area, it's his job as the top law enforcement officer to continually advise the people as to what they can do to better protect themselves.
Sheriff Clark says it's a clear safety message. He believes that personal safety is an individual responsibility and people have to be prepared to protect themselves until the police arrive. He said, once the wolf is at the door, once the intruder is in your home, once a guy sticks a gun in your face in the streets and demands your wallet or wants to take your car, 911 isn't going to help you. But there are some things that you can do in that situation to protect yourself, and it's my obligation to advise people how to do that.
Not everyone agrees with Sheriff Clark. Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett released a statement criticizing the ad, saying apparently Sheriff David Clark is auditioning for the next Dirty Harry movie. Now, Sheriff Clark responded by saying, it looks like he doesn't have much to say or much to offer, and that's okay. My job, he said, is to protect the public and to give the public the information that they need to be honest with them and to be straightforward with them.
At least he's being honest about the situation.
Now, next we turn our focus locally, and YPN's Larry McGee has a report on the small town of Abilene, whose crime rate per capita is starting to exceed some of the nation's largest cities. Larry, what do you have for us?
More madness, Jeff, in a city which, despite its biblical namesake, is reeling and swooning in turmoil. Starting off this week, 2 female residents of Dyess Air Force Base were arrested, and a Dyess airman has been taken into custody after 3 children under their care were found to be living in unsanitary conditions. 26-year-old Brittany Valdez and 22-year-old Kayla Phillips are now being held in a Taylor County jail under charges of child endangerment. The active duty member who lives with the 2 women was also taken into custody by military officials as well. Thursday, police responded to a call on the 100 block of Virginia Street located on Dyess Air Force Base after a Dyess official reported that the home was unsanitary and had animal feces on the floor. The airman, along with his wife, Brittany Valdez, and Kayla Phillips, were all living at the location. The 3 children, ages 7, 4, and 11, were concluded to be in immediate danger and were taken by Child Protective Services. The 3 children, however, did not require immediate medical attention. Authorities say 7 dogs were also living at the home. This comes just 6 months after another woman, 22-year-old Tiffany Klepek, herself a resident of Dyess Air Force Base, was also charged with neglecting her children as well. In August of 2012, officials say Klepek's 22-month-old daughter died due to severe neglect at the family's home, and Klepek's 2 other children were also found to have critical injuries. Klepek was indicted on charges of child neglect, and the remaining children were taken into foster care. A senior airman, Christopher Perez, was also charged and is scheduled to stand military trial for that incident. Despite 2 incidences in such a short span of time, the Regional Victim Crisis Center says this has nothing to do with the military. Representative Diane Dotson says, what we know about people who hurt children is that they are often people who have been hurt as children. They don't know any other way to be, and so they repeat what they've learned. According to Ms. Dotson, the answer is to reach children while they're young and to help them heal through counseling so that they can break the cycle. And more shocking news, 58-year-old Deborah Pardon has been released from the hospital after being stabbed multiple times and having her throat slashed by 35-year-old William Travis Butler. The 2 are said to have been in a relationship, and the incident allegedly ensued after an argument. According to the Eastland County Sheriff, Mr. Butler was arrested just before 5 near Elm Cemetery, the same area where Butler is accused of stabbing Parton and tossing her into a ditch. Local resident Ronnie Davis has been left wondering about the state of honesty in Abilene this week after she purchased a pet from the Abilene Animal Shelter only to find, after hundreds of dollars in expenses, that the dog had a complicated medical history, including broken bones and nerve damage stemming from having been severely beaten. When Ms. Davis returned to the animal shelter to report her findings and to ask what the shelter might do to help, she was told nothing unless she gives the dog back. The mayhem doesn't stop. Abilene police are investigating several suspects after Academy Sports and Outdoors reported over 6,000 rounds of ammunition stolen from its inventory. The ammunition has been located in several pawn shops in the area, and 5 people are being investigated, including 3 store employees. The investigation began last month when police officials received a tip that 2 men were allegedly attempting to sell ammunition which was potentially stolen. At present, no arrests have been made in the case. Another resident is in jail after robbing a woman with a plastic gun. The incident took place outside of Hemrick Medical Center. The 29-year-old man, Benny Harvard, robbed a woman for her purse. The woman's husband and Hemrick security pursued Harvard, and he was eventually apprehended by police a block away. Harvard says he robbed the woman because he didn't have money for a bus ticket. Another suspect attempted to rob an ATM machine outside of an Abilene bank this week as well. The culprit drilled into the outlock on the outside of the bank. Once the door was open, the culprit then drilled a combination lock inside of the ATM. He was not able to get the money, but he did cost the Abilene Prosperity Bank over $500 in damages. Yet more theft, as hundreds of dollars in lottery tickets were stolen from a local convenience store. Police say an assailant walked into the 7-Eleven located on the 1400 block of Treadaway, reached behind the counter, and snatched $500 worth of lottery tickets. And if that wasn't enough, another 7-Eleven located just outside of Abilene was hit as well. In this case, the culprit pulled up to the west side of the 7-Eleven located on FM 18, broke a lock, and made away with over $600 in propane tanks, rounding out a week of activities demonstrating a small city with big problems and a sore need for a peaceful solution. For YPN News, I'm Larry McGee. Katan Jeff, back to you.
Now, as we continue, it seems as though no one is safe from the effects violence has on the mind, not even highly skilled snipers. At a Texas shooting range, a man was gunned down by a man that he was trying to help. The suspect accused of shooting the legendary Chris Kyle idolized the victim.
Kyle served 4 tours in Iraq, won 7 medals for his bravery, and killed more of the enemy than any sniper in U.S. military history. He volunteered to help vets suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Police believe he was trying to counsel 35-year-old Eddie Ray Roth this weekend at a gun range southwest of Dallas.
Detectives believe Roth's mother may have reached out to Kyle for help for her son. Law enforcement say the day at the range turned deadly when Eddie Roth snapped, turned the gun on Kyle and the man he idolized, and his friend, 35-year-old Chris Littlefield, which was at the gun range with him, and he shot both of them at point-blank range. He then stole Kyle's pickup truck and led police on a chase.
Kyle, a sniper who could hit targets the length of 21 football fields away, found success at home as well. He was the best-selling author and wrote in his book how, because he killed so many insurgents, they put a $20,000 bounty on his head along with the nickname of the Devil. In one interview, Kyle commented, with a 95% divorce rate in the teens, and I made it out with my wife. He said being a husband and a father to his children was his greatest accomplishment. Now, Chris Kyle was 38 years old.
The suspect is being held on $3 million bail and is said to be charged with 2 counts of capital murder, 1 for each of the men who was trying to help him.
Now, Christopher Dorner, a former police officer, is on the run. He's wanted for a series of revenge killings, mostly police officers and their families being his targets. Now, search teams are focusing on an 8-square-mile area where Dorner's burned pickup truck was found. San Bernardino County Sheriff said, "We're going to keep searching the area until we either find that he either left the mountain or we find him, one of the two." Now, an added foot of snow is adding difficulty to their search efforts.
Now, Sunday is when police say Dorner began his rampage, killing 2 people in Irvine, including the daughter of a retired police captain who defended him in disciplinary hearings. In Corona, California, he exchanged fire with 2 police officers when they tried to approach him. And later, he ambushed 2 Riverside policemen at a stoplight. One of those officers died.
Authorities say Dorner's trail has been cold since his pickup was discovered. U.S. Marshals in La Palma, California, searched the home of Dorner's mother. In Los Angeles, police remain on high alert as several officers were targeted in a manifesto posted on his Facebook page where he boasted that he could outsmart his pursuers.
Now, listen to these words. In the document, he stated, "I will utilize every bit of small arms training, demolition, ordnance, and survival training that I've been given." Now, John Miller, a former senior commander in the LAPD, said that his moves in going to the Big Bear Mountains, where they're currently searching right now, was no accident. He went there because he intended to go. His family had property up there, so he's familiar with the area.
Mr. Miller continued, he may have wanted to hide out in one of the cabins up there or find another vehicle that authorities wouldn't recognize in the 5-county search area. That's why authorities are trying to figure out which way he went, because that'll tell us a little bit more about his next move, he said. Now, diseases, droughts that lead to famines, senseless killings, and crime, all showing confusion of the mind and showing all these prophecies being fulfilled in our days. Now, Catan, our viewers may feel hopeless after seeing the news and these things taking place in the world, but there is hope. There is a protected place.
You can contact the House of Yahweh, and when you do, don't forget to order your latest copy of the Prophetic Word magazine and monthly newsletter. You can contact them at P.O. Box 2498, Abilene, Texas 79604, or call them at 1-800-613-9494. Or you can visit the website at www.yahweh.com or email them at info@yahweh.com. And of course, for all calls outside the United States, please dial the number on your screen.
Don't go anywhere. Up next is Yishra Hawkins explaining Bible prophecy. From all of us here at YPN News, I'm Jeffrey Heimerman.
And I'm Catan Alexander.
Thanks for watching.